This morning's weigh-in is 194.8, but there's a reason for it. What is going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new YouTube video. It is 7:51 on Saturday, 31st of May, and I'm a tired guy. I just struggled to sleep last night. I think it's because this is partially also the reason for the high weigh-in this morning. I went over Chinese food last night with one of my buddies, Andy, and we went to the Jumbo in Croxteth, which, by the way, if you live in Liverpool and you've not been to the Jumbo for a Chinese, you have to go. It's absolutely incredible. But we got the banquet, which is 4 courses each, and especially since I've been on this cut, I've been, I'd say overall, as a longer term throughout this whole cut. I mean, you've seen the stats last week because you all watch all of my YouTube videos. I feel like I've done quite well. So and I've not overate or had any binge days or anything like that. And I wouldn't even say last night was like a binge, but I definitely overate and ate to the point where I was excessively full, because even when I came home I was just like, no, this is not good. I just felt awful. And obviously you all know Chinese food is typically very salty, so your body just holds onto a lot of water, so I'm pretty sure that's the reason for the high weigh-in this morning. And also I just struggled to sleep last night because again, I felt it setting in halfway through the meal. I felt the headache setting in because I was having so much salt, and I hadn't wasn't hydrated enough. So when I got home, I made myself some electrolytes, which I'm still finishing this morning, and I took some paracetamol, but I didn't realise the paracetamol had caffeine in it. So I had that about I want to say around 8:30 p.m. last night, or 8:45, and I'm very caffeine sensitive. So I remember going to bed feeling tired, because I was tired. It'd be a long day and everything. But I think I vaguely remember falling asleep for half an hour, but all of a sudden I jolted awake, and then I was awake for ages because the caffeine had set in, and I was just I remember thinking back, I was just hang on, have I had caffeine? Because I'm so careful with it. And then I remembered the paracetamol, and my heart just sank. I was just oh, I'm in for a rough night. So yeah, I'm a little bit tired. I didn't sleep very well last night. But if you thought that was going to stop me from creating an amazing episode 14, you're sorely mistaken. So we've got a couple of things on the agenda to do this morning before we got paddle at 10 a.m. So let's go ahead and get this day started. And guys, before we get into the topic of today's video, I just want to say, if you're interested in the topic of fat loss, if you've tried to lose some fat previously and just not really succeeded, if you feel like you're one of those people who have just tried everything to achieve that goal and just not quite gotten anywhere, today's video is going to be extremely useful for you. So sit back, relax, grab a snack. Summer Shred episode 14. Let's get into this one.
A lot of evidence, and you're still addicted to feeling like an imposter because it's a protection mechanism for you.
Just having myself a quick protein yogurt and banana before I go to paddle, watching some, well, it's the First Things First podcast with Mike Thurston, and he's got Chris Williamson on. And these two guys, I really like these two guys, both of them. I just think their content and everything that they've built business-wise is just very inspiring to me. I used to consume content from guys like this, all the time. These two, Jordan Peterson, Jocko Willink, but I feel like I kind of just fell away from all of that. But now I'm really trying to get back to it, because I just think even just doing something as little as starting my day with, having myself a small breakfast, watching these guys, just starts me off on such a good foot mentally, if that makes sense. Ultimately, it's guys like this who have kind of really inspired me to start YouTube. So it makes sense to me that I would just, watch their content and obviously enjoy it, but take inspiration on how I want my videos to look as well. So yeah, I'm just going to enjoy this, and then we'll catch up after paddle. Paddle wasn't the most fun today. Don't get me wrong, I had fun, but here's the thing, I've got to look at the big picture. I've got to look at the big picture, dude. Look at the big picture. So largely speaking, I feel like I've hit the ground running with paddle. I can play to a decent standard already, and I can hold my own against players who are pretty good, I would say. But today I feel like I had my first stinker. And if you're not really a sports person, a stinker refers to when you just play awfully one time. It happens. Don't get me wrong, these things happen. Everyone has an off day. Yeah, I was just hitting so many errors today, just errors that should not have happened. I'm normally fairly consistent with it, but no, today was not the best. We lost both the competitive games. The second one was a tie break, so it was quite close, but again, just too many errors. And then we got halfway through the third game before we had to call it quits, because we just didn't have enough time to finish it. I have this issue, and I don't know if you can relate if you're a gym goer or you're into fitness or sports in some way. I am so competitive. Even though we're playing friendly games,
they don't contribute to any kind of rank or like score. Like they're not connected to Playtomic, which is like a separate thing, which is, you know, I've just started doing. So it's just completely, it's just friendly. You know, me and some of the friends who I play with, like we just get together like a few times a week and we just play. But my goodness, when we lose in that manner, yeah, I don't like it. And maybe some of you can relate. But either way, I'm not going to fume for too long. The time is now 12:18 and I'm absolutely starving because I haven't eaten since that yogurt and banana pre-paddle. So let's do ourselves a nice carby meal to counteract that. Just prepared myself an absolute meal and a half and I cannot wait to eat this. So this is the end piece of one of Aldi's malted bloomer loaves. If anyone's not had like the Aldi malted bloomer, it's amazing bread. It's just so good. I've topped that with half a tin of Branston beans because Branston beans are superior with a light cheese slice melted into the beans. 2 chicken chipolatas, which you can't see because they're just covered by egg, and then 2 medium eggs. But these medium eggs have actually come out quite big, so I'm not going to complain. On the side, 1 scoop of before my chocolate peanut butter whey in water, which isn't really ideal. I would like to have milk, but I'm trying to save a few calories for later. So I'm going to get this down me, and then next on the agenda, I've got a little bit of laptop work to do. Took on a new client the other day, so I need to just do a little bit of groundwork before the plan begins on Monday, and then I'll update you on the cut and talk about the topic of today's video. Okay, ladies and gents, so once again we're at the whiteboard of truth because I've added another row of data from this past week and it's looking good. So most recent weigh-in 88.4 kilograms, 0.2 kilo down over the past 2 weeks. To be honest, I feel like this is a bit skewed. As I say, these weigh-ins are all not morning weigh-ins. My morning weigh-ins are coming in significantly lower than these, probably on average about 1 kilo less than these ones. But either way, it's a drop. So, you know, I'm not taking this to heart anyways. Muscle, here's where things get interesting. Over the past 2 weeks, I've actually gained 0.1 kilo of muscle. So we stayed stagnant. As I'm sure you know, if you saw the previous episodes, had an issue where I was losing muscle. Absolutely heartbreaking. Still recovering, to be honest with you. But we're on the way back now, because I've made some macro adjustments. I actually upped my calories even in a cut, which, let's be honest, who thinks to do that? Probably not a lot of people. But I was like, I know what we need to do here because I've tried and tested my own methods several times, not only on myself, because I used to be obese if you didn't know, but also on the clients that I've worked with to help them overcome their fat loss struggles. And also muscle gain struggles. I do coach people who want to gain muscle and, you know, have other goals rather than fat loss, but fat loss is definitely my bread and butter because I know how to do it in a proper way. So we've started to gain a little bit of muscle now on 2,500 calories, but fat loss is still going down at the same rate that it has been, about half a kilo every 2 weeks. So about a quarter kilo a week of fat mass melting off me. Most recent reading was 19.9. That is half a kilo down from 2 weeks ago. So things are moving fantastically well. And to be honest, this just goes to reinforce the topic that I had for today's video. Now, normally when it comes to planning these videos, I'm pretty good. You know, somewhere on Monday, Tuesday, I'll think about, okay, what do I want this week's video to focus on? And I'll think of a topic, I'll write a few notes about what I want to cover and everything. This week I actually was struggling a little bit. I was kind of thinking, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do in this week's video. Then I did this reading and I thought, actually, you know what? I know what I can do for this week's video. I can talk about why your coach is probably lying to you. Which is not clickbait or anything like that. I know the title of this video is still very much relevant. It's because, you know, I've heard too many instances of people being prescribed 1,200 calorie diets from coaches who, I mean, I don't want this to turn into a slander video because that's not the idea of this and that's not who I am as a person anyways, but I have to admit, I do get sick of seeing coaches who have always been in shape, as in they've never had to like make any significant change. They've always just kind of like naturally been in shape. Prescribing people 1,200 calorie diets and just telling them to get on with it so they can have a good before and after picture for their Instagram. Not realizing that the client is just going to go back to what they were doing before their coaching term. I just don't agree with that. That to me is not ethical coaching. Coaching to me is definitely, you know, teaching someone how to fish rather than just like, you know, fishing for them. I want to make sure that every client who works with me has the knowledge, the skills, the ability to maintain their results long after they've finished the coaching program. The only way you can achieve that is through long-term behavioral change. But yeah, anyways, diverging. So the reason why those 1,200 calories don't work and why, let's just call them heavy deficit cutting diets, whatever, you know what I'm trying to get at. They don't work because, look, I mean, if you do that, yes, you're going to lose weight, and losing weight for a lot of people is a good result. But I would look even deeper than that. What's that weight made up of? Is it made up of lean tissue, muscle, which is not good because that's metabolic, and that's actually stuff that's actively metabolic, as in it burns calories just by existing? Or is it fat mass, which doesn't really do that? Obviously you want to lose fat, like you want to lose the fat, you want to protect your muscle tissue, and you want to lose the fat as much as you can. Whatever your experience level is in fitness, surely that makes sense. When you're cutting, when you're losing weight, you want to protect your lean tissue because that's what gives you shape, that's what gives you aesthetics, and that's what gives you tone. And you want to lose fat mass. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, what happens is when you go into heavy deficit, yes, you lose the weight. And again, I want to refer back to this data where, I changed my macros on the 17th of April to a heavy deficit. And look what happened. Yes, I lost 1.5 kilos of weight in 2 weeks. To a lot of people, that is a crazy, crazy, amazing result. And it is, let's be honest, to lose 1.5 kilos in 2 weeks, it's a lot. Over half a kilo of that was muscle. And that to me is just an absolute no. That's a hard no. I've always maintained that you can still gain muscle in a cut. Like at the very least, you can maintain your lean tissue. In fact, the goal should be to gain muscle tissue while you're in a cut. Otherwise, what you kind of risk happening is, yes, you might lose the weight, but you're going to look in the mirror. You're not going to see that much like meaningful change in yourself. You're just going to look a bit, what's the word, softer. And that's because you're losing muscle tissue. You're losing the tissue that gives you shape, that gives you aesthetics, that gives you tone. So there might be so many coaches out there who, if you're struggling, if you're not like seeing the result, they're just going to say, probably cut your calories a little bit more. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. It's not right. They need to find where the point is for you. And this takes time and effort. It takes, what's the term I'm looking for here? It's basic maths term. Trial and error. It takes trial and error to learn these things. But you need to learn where you find that sweet spot whereby you're not losing any muscle tissue, but your fat mass is still decreasing. So if anyone wants to point the finger at you saying, oh, your deficit isn't big enough, or you just need to be more disciplined with your nutrition, you have every right to ask these questions like, well, I want to preserve muscle tissue. Is there a way we can make sure that we're preserving muscle tissue while we're cutting fat? By all means, by the way, if you're happy to lose muscle tissue, if you're just happy to lose weight and you don't really care where it comes from, go for it. I don't necessarily think that's a good outcome because I think you're going to get to the end of your dieting phase or your cut or whatever you're doing, and you're still probably not really going to be happy with how you look. Whereas if you did things the right way, you spent a bit more time and effort and energy into like making sure you did it the right way, making sure that you were at least preserving your muscle tissue, if not gaining, and making sure your fat mass was the main thing that was dropping, I guarantee by the time you finish that cut, you'll be like, holy shit, what have I done? And I mean that in the best way possible. And if you've got any questions about this or anything that I'm saying, please leave them in the comments below. I will make sure that I address them for you. Short and sweet one of the whiteboard of truth today. I'll see you in the next clip. All right, so the time is now 4:45. And to be honest, I am pretty gosh darn hungry, so I think I'm going to do myself an early dinner. Tonight is the Champions League final, Inter Milan versus PSG, and I'm hoping it's going to be an amazing game. I'm going out with some friends to watch it. I think I'm going to try and get there around 7 PM, an hour before kickoff. So I'm going to get some food in me now because I'm anticipating that. I'm probably going to be hungry again later. I'm going to try not to eat in the pub because pub grub can just be so hit and miss, and I just would rather not do that. So I'll eat now. That'll mean I've got plenty of time to build up an appetite for after the game. So bought something special for dinner tonight. It has been a while since I bought a steak, but I bought this salt dry aged Aberdeen Angus sirloin from Aldi today, which looks phenomenal. Wasn't actually that expensive. It was like £5.50, which I think for a steak, like especially from a premium range, and I mean, yes, it's a budget supermarket, but like in a premium range, I still think that's really good. So I'm gonna have myself a nice 8-ounce steak with some asparagus and some potatoes. So I'm gonna go ahead and get cooking, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're all done. Safe to say this is looking like a treat and a half. Get on this. 8-ounce sirloin, baby potatoes, asparagus. I don't want to tip the plate because there's steak juices and stuff, so I don't want to like lose anything, but oh my goodness, this looks unbelievable. Sometimes you just got to treat yourself to a proper steak dinner. Like, there's just nothing like it. Anyways, I'm really not going to waste a lot of time talking to the camera. I'm just going to get this down me, and I'll catch you a little bit later. Okay, ladies and jellyfish, so the time is now 11:10 at night. It is way past my bedtime, although I did have a fantastic evening. A bit embarrassing for Inter Milan losing 5-0 in the Champions League final. Kind of feel for them, but it is what it is. I actually saw some lads who I went to school with when I went out just then, and it's quite funny. Literally as I approached them, one of the guys just looked at me like, he was just like saying, Dean, I can't believe how jacked you are. And then I had to have that conversation where I was like, really? Because
genuinely, I don't see it. Like, I look in the mirror and I see someone who has muscle, but I don't see someone muscular. But then again, I do suffer from the most awful body dysmorphia probably ever. I'm probably always going to look in the mirror and think that I don't lift. Does anyone else relate to that? Because that's definitely how I feel. Yeah, also guys, I have a confession to make. So, I don't mind, like obviously on a cut, I've been saying you deal with hunger. And if I was just a little bit hungry, it's fine. If I'd hit my calories, it's fine. I'd just go to bed, forget about it. But, I mean, I did have a few calories left over at the end of the day, but I was actually really fucking hungry, like seriously hungry, and as in to the point where I was like, I need a meal. It's not the kind of hunger that like a little protein bar or a yogurt or something like that would fix. So I got a Mackey's. But I've kept it sensible. I've got 5 chicken selects, medium fries, and a Coke Zero. So, you know, as far as Mackey's goes, it's pretty light. Normally if I get a Mackey's, it's because I'm going all out and I'll get like a large meal. Normally chicken selects, because I bloody love chicken selects. If you choose nuggets over selects, you're wrong. So get the selects next time and thank me later. But I'd always get the 5 selects meal large. I'd get like a burger on the side, and I'd probably get a milkshake or a McFlurry. So yeah, this is definitely light compared to my usual Mackey's order. But anyways, just wanted to update you because I know I've stopped filming quite suddenly after the steak dinner. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in. 14 episodes. The next episode is going to be the 15th episode. 15 weeks in a row of uploaded YouTube videos. Honestly, I feel great for it. Just wanted to say, if you've been sticking around for like a lot of the series, you've seen a lot of the episodes, I appreciate you so much. I really do. People don't realise the work it takes to, like, you know, just like create YouTube videos. It does take up a significant amount of time. So if you are sticking around, like regardless of even if you enjoy the videos or not, I really do appreciate you. So don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with the final episodes of this series. It's kind of sad saying that. I need to think of a new series to do, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.